Hey everyone, how you doing? It's Craig Campbell from Pastor Craig's Vintage Cards, and I'll tell you what, it's been really cold up here in Ohio. I got up this morning, it was 4 degrees out when I let my dog out, and I'm looking for some warmer weather. And I was thinking about Strongsville's coming up in April, of course, and I only live about 70 miles away, and I'm hoping for everybody and for myself that it gets warmer. And it should be. By the time, middle of April is around, we should be hopefully in the 50s, 60s, maybe even 70s. But boy, this winter has got to go. But I'll tell you what, I'm really getting hot because I'm finding some really, really interesting stories in these old football cards that I'm pulling out. And I am having such a fun time going through the cards that I've had for 50, 55 years. Most of these cards I pulled the year they came out in 70, 71, 72, 73. And it's just I'm having so much fun going through these cards, and then I'm finding out some really, really awesome stories that I want to share with you guys about some of the players that I had no idea, and I don't know if you know them either. So let me get this camera turned around and let's talk some football. Now, I don't know much. I've told you how much I love these football cards, but maybe this little box here will show you how much I love them. And the nice thing about Valentine's Day, there's a lot of nice things, but one of the nice things is I get to buy some chocolates for my wife, and she's not a huge connoisseur of chocolate, so somehow they always end up down here in my office, and I've been eating just a few of these. Not a whole lot, but just a few of these Hershey chocolate kisses. But let's get to some football cards. I want to show you some stuff real quick. And here's a guy, 1972, Fred Cox. And for the guys that know, Fred Cox was a heck of a kicker for the Minnesota Vikings. From the 60s all the way until about 77. And this card, the hair always cracked me up, kind of a bad hair day. But Fred was a great kicker from like 63 to 77 with the Vikings. But here's the thing that I did not know about Fred Cox, and I don't know how many of you guys know it either, but Fred was the inventor of the soft football, otherwise known as Nerf football. And he ended up selling the idea in 1972 or 3 to Milton Bradley. Yeah, I think it was a Milton Bradley toy. And then they sold it again to Hasbro. And on the Wikipedia page, it says Fred Cox has been enjoying generous royalties ever since. And you think about the expansion of Nerf. I mean, the millions, if not billions of dollars worth of Nerf sales over the years. And right here, Fred Cox is the guy that invented the Nerf football. So not only was he a great kicker, but man, Nerf football, what a deal. What a deal. And I wanted to show you this card here. A lot of you football guys might remember him. Buck Buchanan, big bad Buck Buchanan, a Hall of Famer for the Kansas City Chiefs. But one of the things really neat about Buck is that he was the first black player ever to be selected number 1 in the draft, whether it be AFL or NFL. No black man had ever been selected as the number 1 overall pick ever in the draft until Buck Buchanan. And I'll tell you what, Buck Buchanan was a big man at that time, 6'7" or 6'8", 270, pretty fast for that size, and he was a real terror on the field. As a matter of fact, John Madden said that Buck Buchanan kind of revolutionized NFL to be that big, that quick, to get from the lateral speed, side to side, and just the powerful pass rush. And Buck Buchanan was a great player. He's in the Hall of Fame, but he was the first black man to ever be selected number 1 in the NFL draft. Here's another interesting card, Garland Boyette. Garland Boyette. And his significance is he is the first black player to ever play middle linebacker in the NFL or the AFL. And, middle linebacker was always kind of like the quarterback of the defense. And so there was never a black man that ever played middle linebacker until Garland Boyette came along. And he had a pretty good career. And you can see that he actually went and played in the CFL in 64 after starting with St. Louis. And he was disappointed with what the wages were for the rookies. He thought they were out of control. And so he went to the CFL. And I believe Garland is still alive, and I can only imagine what he thinks about the wages now. But Garland Boyette, the first black man to ever start as a middle linebacker. And here's another guy really interesting, Marlon Briscoe. Now, a lot of people probably remember Marlon Briscoe as a wide receiver with the Miami Dolphins in the 72 3 and 4 seasons. He was part of them Super Bowl winning teams, the unbeaten 72 team. But Marlon Briscoe was also very significant because he was the first black man to ever play quarterback in professional football. And he was the first black guy to ever play. In 1968, he started a game in October 6th of 68 and for the Denver Broncos. And he was the first black quarterback to ever play. Yeah, October 6th of 68. I'm sorry, I'm having to look at my notes here. But the first one, and what's really interesting, is that the first guy that ever caught one of Marlon Briscoe's passes was this guy right here, Eric Crabtree. And he played for the Denver Broncos in 1968. And he caught the first pass that Marlon Briscoe threw. It was for 22 yards. And here's a really cool thing that I read about Eric Crabtree is he would go to the Denver Broncos headquarters and pick up all of the hate mail and the death threats that were received for Marlon Briscoe because, being a black quarterback. And there was a lot of hate mail, a lot of death threats. And Crabtree would intercept those letters so that Briscoe would not get them. And Marlon Briscoe didn't find out about that until decades later. But to Eric Crabtree, a really good guy, came out of Pennsylvania. Crabtree's went to the University of Pittsburgh. He was one of the first black players, I believe, to be recruited by Pittsburgh. And the other thing about Eric Crabtree is he got traded to the Bengals, as you can see his Bengals card, but he played for Paul Brown, the great Paul Brown in Cincinnati, and his wide receiver coach was none other than Bill Walsh. And how interesting. But I wanted to share some of these cards with you guys. I'm just having such a good time going through them. I still got to put in a couple cards for the C's. I'm doing them alphabetically. And what I've got left to put in today is the Larry Zonka 72 card. And then this nice Mike Mad Dog Curtis. He was a great linebacker with the Colts. And so I'm just really having a fun time going through these old cards, cards that I opened up 55 years ago. And just it's so much fun. And you can see just, I love these cards like Mike Curtis, really off center, but that's the way they were in the 70s. And actually this Larry Zonka card, I don't know, I must have taken pretty good care of it because it looks pretty nice. But yeah, I actually pulled that card in 1972. I was 10 years old, and I've had that for a long time. But anyways, guys, I just want to make a quick video, and I'm just really excited about these football cards, and it's just a great way to enjoy the hobby without having to spend any money, because I've had these cards for 50 or 55 years, and I'm just looking on the internet, finding out some stories, and just having a blast with them. But I hope you guys enjoy it, and we'll talk soon, and let's hope for some warm weather for Strongsville. We'll talk to you later.